Hey guys, we've put this video on the how-to playlist because hopefully it might provide some useful information to somebody who's going to come to Japan or has just arrived in Japan or something. And it's about the contradictions and paradoxes that people often mention about Japan. So people often watch our videos, and after they've watched them, then they make a comment about a paradox or a contradiction. So for example, most recently we made a video about the guys driving the streets with their trucks with their big speakers on the roof. And we've made videos about them before, you know, the guy that comes around selling tofu and the guy that comes around looking for recycling stuff, and there's a whole heap of them. And a couple of people commented that how come this country where everybody's so quiet and so considerate to other people allows that, you know, the guy with his big speaker on the roof. And we often get that, you know, people watch our videos and comment on the, but you know, you made a video that had this in it, and then you make a video with this in it, and that seems to be a contradiction. And yeah, it's often the case. It is often the case. There's a lot of contradictions and paradoxes here. I'd start by saying I wouldn't worry about the why as much as the what. So for example, you know, in that example about the, you know, why is it that the guy comes around making all that noise with his speaker on his roof, and yet you're supposed to be quiet on the train and not be loud on the train? Well, it's not really important as much the why. I would suggest that the why is not as important as the what. So understanding that, yes, if everybody's quiet on the train, we should be quiet on the train too, is more important to understand than the why. As to the why, I think you'll probably find that the reason everybody's quiet on the train is because it's out of consideration to the other people. The reason everybody tolerates the guy with the speaker on his roof, and you saw another one we made about the aeroplanes with the speaker that comes around making loud speaker broadcasts from the aeroplane. And the reason that's tolerated, I think, is because in Japan that's always been tolerated. People would walk the streets before they had, you know, loud speakers. People would walk the streets blowing whistles and hitting bells and calling out, selling stuff, and that's always been the case. So everybody just accepts it as being normal. So that's why it's accepted, even if it might bother some people, which I'm sure it does. People just accept it. So I would suggest that it's more important that we just understand these things exist and are, and not worry too much about the why. I think if we worry too much about the why, it can drive you crazy. Quite often what happens is you see something, you think, that's odd, why is that? And then a year later or 5 years later, you learn something else, and it goes, that's why that's okay. You know, so you watch some documentary or you hear some part of Japanese history about the guys walking the streets with their and you go, right, that's why they tolerate the speaker thing. So quite often, what seems like it has no reason for us, and then, you know, a year or 5 years or 10 years later, you suddenly go, oh, now I see why. So the why is not so important. It's also, I think, it's better not to bring the why up with Japanese people, because, you know, you can soon become annoying if you're always saying, why is that, why is that, why is that, why is that, even though people be smile and be polite and try to be kind in their answer to you, they soon become tired of it. And you can imagine if someone came to your country and was always asking you why do you people do this, why do you people do that, it might be interesting for the first two questions, but after that it might soon become annoying for them. So it's better not to do it. It really is. It's better not to do it. Just accept it. Just be observant. Same with all these things. Just be observant and accept it. But yeah, on the subject of contradictions and paradoxes, yeah, there's loads of them. There's loads of them. I mean, such a technologically advanced country with such amazing technology going on all around us, and yet everything that's done here with bureaucracy, with government and with big companies and so on, is done on paper. So it's just anybody that spends any time here will soon comment that they can't believe how much paperwork there is here, how much paper, physical paper. You know, if you go to City Hall and do something, you've got to fill out 2 or 3 forms of paper. And, you know, every time you do something, it's, those of you who saw our healthcare, on the healthcare playlist, we went to a hospital, and you go in and there's a computer and you put your card in the computer and it says, oh, hello, and then, you know, it's all computerized, but then it prints you out a piece of paper. And then you go to the next counter and they put some more stuff in the computer and they print out another piece of paper and give you a folder. And then by the time you leave the hospital that day, you've got a folder of paper. So everybody that goes to the hospital for a visit walks out with a bunch of paper, and it's just what they do. You know, it's just what's done. You know, I think it's just part of the way the society works here, that if it's not on paper, it's not considered to be real. So even though they've got computerized systems, the same as everywhere else in the world, and they've got, you know, amazing computerized stuff, they still have to have everything on pieces of paper because it just makes people feel safer or something, whatever reason. So there's just loads of this stuff. Somebody commented recently on one of our videos, there was an image that we showed and some people talking about sexualization of children, and you know, someone else mentioned the age of consent here, and the age of consent is a state-by-state issue, and in most states it's 20, which is actually one of the higher, that's quite high compared to a lot of other countries. So the age of consent is actually quite high at 20, and yet there's lots of images of sexualized images of children in the media and so on, and you know, again, could be considered to be a contradiction. So it's endless. It's endless. You know, the wasting is considered bad, so recycling is really important here. So, you know, we divide up our rubbish. You've seen this on the environment playlist. We have to divide up the rubbish into, you know, a dozen different categories or 25 different categories, and you know, so we spend a lot of time on the dividing up the rubbish and recycling, and yet people throw their cars away after 6 or 7 years. You know, they trade them in and they basically get turned to scrap, and you know, they trash 30-year-old houses here. 40-year-old houses quite often demolished and they build a new one. So it's endless. It's endless. If you spend time in Japan, you'll see endless examples of contradictions and paradoxes, and it just goes on and on. We actually had a list of them, but it's endless. You'll see them on our videos, and I'm sure we've got more videos coming on our list of videos that we're making, and there's a few more on there where you'll see more examples of contradictions and paradoxes, and if you come here you'll see loads. But the reason this is on the how-to playlist is just as a sort of a bit of a heads up that, you know, yes, you will see lots of contradictions and paradoxes, but it's really better just to accept them, and just accept them for what they are, and just, it's just the way it is, and not drive yourself too crazy trying to work it out, or more importantly, not to become annoying to other people by always asking about it. Is really an important point as well. Just accept it, you know. I see, okay, thank you, and move on. So yeah, keep an eye out in future videos, guys. I'm sure you'll see more examples of the contradictions and the paradoxes. No shortage of them. So anyway, I hope that gave some benefit or some entertainment to somebody. More videos coming soon.